So if you go to Classroom, the first, in the stream, the first item says PCBL 60 PD hours course. And if you click on that, it'll open up. And this originally was the syllabus for College of Charleston, but because I was telling Joanna earlier, we had to have a minimum enrollment for people who wanted graduate credit, and we weren't able to match it. So, you know, we're not doing the graduate credit. Just as a quick run through, for communication, I'm available to you. You can email me, you can text me. Calling me might be hard just because I'm usually in the classroom with people. But if you text or email me or text me and tell me there's an email, sometimes that works too. I will get back to you. We've got the standards and objectives are really very specific to the College of Charleston, so we don't really need to worry about that. I also, for the College of Charleston, had to do grading like the old-fashioned way, which kind of goes against the entire competency-based learning. So it's almost like a relief that nobody is doing graduate credit, because now I can just help you grow instead of trying to grade you and say you got 3 points here and you got 4 points here and you didn't do this, so you lost it. That's not what competency-based is about. So the grading is just pass-fail, which it would have been anyway with College of Charleston. And what I do need you to do is, to get the 60 PD hours, you do have to complete the work. And what's going to happen is, and I'm going to scroll down past the goals and objectives. So the expected time dedication should be anywhere between 45 and 60 hours. It depends on how long it takes you to do your hands-on tasks with kids in the classroom. So what I tried to do was, you know, I tried to because for PD hours, I have to prove that you did 60 hours of work. So I basically tried to inflate the time, considering the fact that some people might be slower. And so then I kind of gauged it by whoever might be the slowest person, that it shouldn't take them more than 60 hours. Okay, so you might get it done in 45, you might get it done in less. And especially because you're working together, that you guys might really get it done quickly, because that's really powerful. All right, so for the outcomes, what you should expect to learn is that you're going to have an understanding of the expectations of competency-based education. You should have a basic knowledge of what the South Carolina Department of Ed's Office of Personalized Learning concept is. So I'm going by their concept because I'm focused on South Carolina teachers, but it's not set in stone. They're just kind of like a guide that I'm using. I'm also hoping that you can reach the developing level, and basically that means the middle level. So proficient is the top, developing is the middle, and entry is low. So everybody pretty much should be at entry level right now, and I'm just hoping that you'll grow to the second level. And then of course if you grow 2 levels, that's even better. And then I want your confidence to be increased with personalized learning. And you're also going to be practicing using tools that you can hopefully then turn around and use in your classroom. And it could be a tool you've been using all along, but you might all of a sudden say, I never thought to use it like that, you know. So it could be how you're using the same old tool, and that's okay too. You know what I just realized? I should just present so that you can see what I'm looking at as I look at it. All right. Assessment and grading, I'm not going to read all of this to you. You can take the time to read it as it'll populate for you. Can you see my screen now? Okay, good. The online discussions are going to be the most important. because that's where really you grow, because other people will be able to give you feedback, and feedback is super important for growth too. So there are going to be, I tried to collect a variety of different media so that, you know, you could listen to a podcast, you could read a blog, an article, you watch a video, you might decide you want to do all of them. You know, you can't know everything about a topic, so try not to get hung up on, oh, I didn't learn that one thing because that was in the video and I didn't watch it, because there are a million sources for all of this stuff. So the first thing you have to do is tell yourself, it's okay if I don't know everything as long as I'm learning something, okay? So the discussion forums are going to be important, because that's where we get to kind of banter back and forth and ask, you know, did you think about this? I'm also going to be trying to model for you ways that you can use the discussion questions in classroom with your kids. One of the things that we saw while coaching is that students don't really have the social skills to disagree with somebody civilly, and sometimes adults don't either. So we're going to be using sentence stems, and if you haven't used them before, I think you're going to love them, and if you have used them before, hopefully you like them. They give the kids an easy way to broach a subject that's difficult, you know, like they learn how to say things like, you know, thank you for taking the time to do that, you did a nice job. I'd like to zero in on this one point that you made, and then they can either agree or disagree. They can also learn how to piggyback on other people's ideas instead of just regurgitating what the last person said. So we'll be using a lot of those tools, and I'll be demonstrating all of them in video for you so that you can learn them. The difficulty that I have is that I have so many tools that I want to show you, and I have to remember that we only have so much time. So I'm going to try and really focus and give you some of the most valuable ones, or maybe I will do videos of multiple ones and then let you decide which one might work best for you. And that's something that also you'll be able to do with your students. Once you teach them how to use something and they know 3 tools, then a part of the power is in their being able to say, you know what, this tool really worked well for me, so that's the tool that I want to use, because now they're learning about themselves. So that's where that is. Okay, the course activities. We've got 3 online meetings, 6 self-paced learning modules, and then each module has all of your activities that you have to do. Each one has a post task, which means once you've gone through all the content, normally you would take some kind of a formative assessment, but this is a hands-on, show me you can do it. So if you think of like what a plumber or an electrician has to go through, they can't just describe how to fix a pipe, right? They have to fix the pipe. So you have to actually dive in your classroom, take some risks, try some stuff. If it fails, that's not a problem, because you're going to have the opportunity to reflect on it and show that reflection in your portfolio, because most of the learning comes from the reflection. And so what I'd like this course to be is it's impossible to fail course, you know. As long as you're growing and you're learning, that's good enough. All right. Okay, so our dates are here in this document, and they're also posted in Google Classroom. I'm going to put all of these on a calendar and then share it out with you, so you can overlay that calendar onto your Google Calendar if you want, or, you know, just make your own calendar. Underneath hands-on activities, here is the grading scale, emerging, developing, proficient, and we are going to be shooting for developing. We just want to move up 1 level. I'm going to have progressions for you to follow, and there's an example of a progression farther down in the syllabus. This is something that most people are not used to, especially in math. It's usually you're right or you're wrong. And what this does is it kind of gives room for, you made it halfway, you're halfway there, you know, and the kid can look at the progression and say, well, what do I need to do to get to where I need to be? And it's all laid out. So sometimes sometimes it's hard to create a progression, and I'm not expecting you to, but you can try for sure. All right, so this section right here is the course calendar and the outline, just so that you know what to expect. These are the topics that we're going to be going over. I added a not yet or digging deeper. So let's say you do all of these, activities, and you kind of feel like, I don't feel like I really have a grasp of it. Then I'm going to try and add something there so that you say, you know what, I think I need a little bit more. Or if somebody finishes it really quickly, or if they really loved it and they want to dig deeper, sometimes it's the same activity. So these ones that are in gray, you can ignore completely, or you can use as needed, okay? So I'm not going to go through all of this. You'll have time to look at it or just take it as it comes, as I release it. Okay, here is what a progression looks like. So for each of the weekly hands-on tasks, and again, this is the points from that I had to do for the College of Charleston. I really am just going to be focusing on, were you able to go from a 1 to a 2? Okay. But this is what a progression looks like. We start out at the proficient. This is mastery here. So for you, this is for creating a positive classroom culture. That's the task. Okay. And the progressions need to be in I can statements. So I can regularly engage and include students in the process of setting a positive climate and culture. I can regularly ensure all students have a voice, and you can do that through power voting as one example. I can regularly encourage student-created goals, reflection, and self-assessment for behavior. And this self-assessment is the student-created, and the self-assessment are the biggies. And I can provide feedback about inaccurate self-assessments, because a lot of the kids in the beginning, they give themselves 4 stars, but you know, you had to tell them 6 times to stop tapping the kid next to them or something. So this is for you doing things. And then developing is easy. You're not quite here. Like, to get proficient really could take 5 years, just to be honest, okay? So let's say you say that you're somewhere in developing. I can model and talk students through the process of setting positive climate and culture in the classroom. I can talk students through whole group and individual goal setting, self-assessment, and reflection on their behavior. And I can do this cyclically. So what ends up happening is people will do it the first 2 weeks of school, and then they never do it again. And so at that point, it just really is decorations for the wall. And then this is where most people are. I can create the rules, and you put them up on the wall. I can post the rules. I can ask students to reflect on their behavior and self-assess, so they might do that once in a blue moon. And I can ask students to set goals for their behavior. So if you're not even at emerging and you get to emerging, then that's fine. But you'll do a self-assessment first, so we know where you are, and then we're going to try and get you to move to the next level. So that's how this progression works. And the value here is that if you say, Eileen, I'm right here with emerging, you can see what you need to do to get to developing. Does that make sense?
It does.
Is it on a scale of 1 to 5? How intimidating is that? 5 being super intimidating.
I mean, I don't find it to be intimidating. I was thinking of that social studies class that you came into with the climate. We would have these same discussions that it really becomes like that, like you said, cyclical versus consistent. And then if you have different kids in the classroom from year to year, or even class to class,
Yeah.
what is required of you to create that can be different. And so to have to adjust and to be good to say, well, these kids just won't, because that's what I said. These kids
Mhm.
talk to each other. How am I
Yeah.
going to work? So that's for that
Yeah.
the practice, like you said, that you're on. These kids go, no, no, that's not how we're going to start that. You need to say, and that's where
Yeah.
really it requires a lot.
It does. It does. And what you might find is that you might say, you know, I'm already doing the first two things. I need to focus on the last two things just in emerging, and I might only be able to do that this year. Like, because we only have 4 months left. And that would be okay because you're doing something that you weren't doing before, and that's positive. Okay. All right. Joanna, how about you?
Yeah, my thought is we're almost February and starting something new. Is that going to be
Um,
frustrating?
what?
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, it doesn't have to be new. At the beginning of the semester, I'm sure you went over the rules for your class, right? Are you guys block schedule or are you full year
Yeah, we're blocked.
block?
But I've
Okay.
had these students. I taught all of them in eighth grade.
Okay.
So they know my expectations. I feel like I have the positive climate and culture in my classroom.
Okay.
I I have never had students that go up to their behavior though. That looking in that emerging category right there,
Right.
or reflecting on their behavior and self-assess. So
Right.
that's kind of where I see myself having to start.
Okay. And that's good. That's good. So what kids like change. If you said to them, you guys, I had you in eighth grade. I want to try something new, and I'd really like to do it with a class that I know I can trust. Would you be willing to help me try something new? They'll be all over that, don't you think? And then you can
Yeah.
say, and getting their feedback is the most important part. So if you say to them, I'm going to try this out. I need your feedback. I need you to tell me how to make it better, what works, what doesn't work. By the end of the semester, you could have an amazing product then to launch next year with all of your classes, you know? Okay, so that's what the progressions look like. And what I love about them is that it's so concrete what you have to do to move on,
Right.
And in the last column, it says possible artifacts to link because in your portfolio, you have to prove that you did it with your kids. So if you can upload if you give them a handout and it's like a survey, you can upload a copy of it. If you posted your things on the wall, you take a picture of it. So anything that the kids are doing, you can take pictures of it during the process. You can upload copies of whatever it is that you shared out with the kids. It's an open book for that one. Okay. Okay. The portfolio, this is again for the points system. If you need to be thinking about it as points, it still is emerging, developing, proficient. And so this is based more off of like the expectations for a college project, and so the explanation is confusing or incomplete. The elements might be missing. So if you just look at proficient, that's the easiest because you know what you need to do. The explanation is clear and concisely written with minimal errors. What needed to be covered is highlighted for others to mimic. Artifacts clearly show completion. So it sometimes it's like people use rubrics as a checklist, and the competency base tries not to use checklists because then it's they did it or they didn't do it. And some of these are more, the ones that are higher quality rubrics are more vague, if that makes sense. Now, that being said, sometimes when you're vague, it gets you into trouble. So I understand if you start out doing checklists, if you're making any of these, that's fine. But you can see from these that it's more of a quality versus quantity. is basically what happens. The discussion forum is based on, and this again was for College of Charleston, professionalism, critical thinking, and examples. But basically, that when people give you work that's not worth reading, it's frustrating. So if you just follow these 3 requirements, you should be giving us a solid post. And then we always want to be able to give feedback, so you're going to be responding to one another. It might just be one person you have to respond to, it might be 2. It depends on how interesting the topic is, really. And then just attending the Google Hangouts is worth points, just to hopefully get people to show up. All right, questions about the expectations?
Good.
Okay. If there's anything on here that you say, Eileen, I think it might be, it's you're expecting too much, or it's out of line with what we're doing, please feel free to give me feedback, because I'm completely open to it.